You're listening to Beyond the Stage from the Carpenter Performing Arts Center at Cal State Long Beach. In each episode, we introduce you to the artists, scholars, students, and arts professionals interpreting our world through the arts. So, hi, Dr. Briggs. How are you today?
Oh, I'm just fine. Thank you so much for having me, Olivia. Very excited to be here and
Thank
looking
you.
forward to the
Good.
conversation.
How are you doing? It's the end of the semester. How did the semester go for you? And are you excited to return to campus maybe next semester?
The semester was, how can I put it? There was a mad dash to the end, and it's always like that, and in some ways, I get a kick out of that. I kind of like, you know, uh, short periods of intensity. I don't like
Mm,
long periods of intensity, but if I know, okay, over the next couple of days, it's going to be crazy, but by this date at this time, it'll be over.
yeah.
I can push myself to, okay, cross that finish line, and I enjoy the rest that comes on the other side of really hard work, right?
Mm,
In some ways, I find that the rest isn't as sweet unless the hard work has come before it, right? If you're just
mm,
kind of at home doing what you want to do, that can be very, very boring.
yeah.
But if you've been really like on a tight schedule and you got to get all these things done, then even just to sit in the backyard and read a book is like, oh, wow, I can actually do this. But if you do that every day, it's like, oh, this is boring, right? There's nothing, there's no drive there. So I do appreciate the hectic quality of the scheduling. Um, but I am looking forward to getting back on campus. Although I have to say, there's some things I learned about my teaching and my connection to students that I would not have known had we not had this lockdown. In other words,
Mm,
I think there were some things that I learned that are positive, some benefits that I can actually continue to use and utilize. And I think we all have, like figuring out like what actually can work and how can we do this even if things get back to normal. What
right.
have we learned that can be maintained? I think this is one of the few periods that I've had in my life like that where everything really shut down.
What are some of those things you think you'll take forward for with you this year into next year?
Yeah. You know, in my classes, I like to have a lot of discussions.
Mm,
I like to talk and ask questions and have students ask questions. And I found that the online format, I mean, using Zoom, if this when the students have on their cameras, you can see everyone. They can all see you, and at least visually, they're all on the same playing field, right? It's not like a spatial thing where in the classroom these people are on the front row and these people are in the back, and the ones in the front row get a lot of attention, and the ones in the back you think, well, if they're sitting that far back, they're probably not very interested in the material, so I won't really engage so much. So you don't really get that feeling. It's not, I'm looking at you all, and it seems like you all are in the same, kind of same place and same space, and so it feels to me a bit more like equal. Like again, I don't know some people speak well on camera. Some don't. I'm aware of that, but I do feel like in some ways I had more engagement in terms of students engaging, and it could be coupled with they have this need for connection that they've been at home, and so normally they would be on campus and they're talking to people, but now they're in the space every day, all day, and so when we have this class, it's one of the few times that they might get a chance to connect with people outside of the wherever they're living. So there might be a greater need to, oh, let me ask a question. I've been thinking about them. We talk about these things. So I do think I want to maintain that in some way. How I'm going to do it in the classroom is yet to be, maybe I'm thinking like a hybrid class where, this we have some very fixed days where we're on campus in person, and there's some days we're going to be online, right? Where we can actually try to maintain that and see how that fits in. But yeah, I think that's one area. The other is just being able to draw up, in terms of technology, you can draw up things very quickly on the spot. Like I prepare certain things, but I try to teach a class somewhat like I am playing jazz, right? Which means as a jazz musician, you practice and you prepare. You don't just get up and like, oh, what are you going to play? I don't know. I figured that most jazz musicians don't do that, right? We work up material, repertoire, and we have a list of things we're going to play. But in the moment, as we're playing it, something might lead us to a different place that we weren't prepared for, and we have to be flexible enough to say, okay, I didn't mean for this piece to turn into a say a bossa nova, but it seems like the rhythm is going there. Let's change it. Let's go this way. And so when I teach, maybe it feels to me more exciting and more honest when I allow for that to happen. So if a student says something in response to a question or prompt, and it leads me to think about something else, then I can very easily, it's kind of, okay, let me show you this. And I look up something on, look at this correspondence between this musician and that musician. I didn't have that in the notes before in the lecture outline, but in the moment, it seems to be appropriate. So when I bring that in, it feels more like, okay, I can do this. Of course, you can do that in the classroom, but I think it's a bit more awkward because I'm standing up and I have to walk back to my computer, say, hold on a second. But when I'm just sitting here talking to you, I could be looking something up and putting something in, and you don't see it until I screen share it, right?
Right.
So I think in terms of, and I like to have like a bit of a smooth presentation that way. So I just feel like in this format, I can do that much more easily. So
Yeah.
certainly that's another one.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've talked to so many teachers over the last year, and I don't think anybody's brought up that how you're the first to bring up how the kind of flattening of the classroom structure, the seating, and that's really interesting. Almost really democratizes it in a
Mm,
way, which
mm,
is really
mhm.
fascinating. And I love the analogy of teaching to playing jazz music. And I'm not a jazz musician, but I imagine your instinct is also a little bit off of like your fellow musicians and the audience.
Mhm,
As it would be for like an actor on a stage, you're feeding off of that energy,
mm.
and instead you're feeding off of their students and their questions and you see that spark in them.
Yeah, absolutely,
um,
absolutely.
that's
Yeah,
really
and I
fascinating.
think the students get that. I think they appreciate it.
Mm,
When they know, okay, this is not a cookie cutter lecture that no matter who is no he's talking to, it's going to be the same thing. Like, no, I am in this place of thinking about this material as you are. I'm presenting it to you, so maybe I have a leg up, but I'm also thinking about it. And so when you
mhm,
say certain things to me that causes me to think differently about it, then I'm going to start to go on a different path, and I'm going to take you on a journey with me as I start to learn more and add more things to it. One of the biggest things that I try to get across to my students is that information, ideas, thoughts, especially the arts, they are more connected than they are separate.
mhm,
Like I think in the academic world, I think there's a lot of compartmentalization where think about, I mean, with a campus, you have buildings that are dedicated to a certain discipline. Like this is the science is over here, the arts over there, music is there, dance is over here. And so I think while I understand why we do that, because we can really focus and like get the mechanics of that craft, I think there's also some detrimental parts to that. And that
mhm,
is that we don't think about it holistically. We think about it as a separate thing and into itself. But when we
mhm.
look at it in the quote unquote real world, there are all these things that come to bear on that particular activity
Right.
that relate across campus, right? But we aren't studying it that way. In the real world, it's happening that way, but we aren't really thinking about those connections. So in my classes, I have a lot of objectives. One is that let me give you some information that's gonna give you a kind of a basic understanding of what we're talking about. But let's not stop there. Let's not just stop with here's some facts. Memorize these facts. The test is on Wednesday, right? Like no, that's not really education. To me, education is think about how these things are influenced by and influence other things that might be seemingly unrelated,
Mhm.
right? Because if people are involved, it is by nature interdisciplinary. Sometimes we use that as saying, "Oh no, it's a special kind of interdisciplinary study," and like, well, actually, life is interdisciplinary.
Right.
So it seems to me that would be the more common way of studying things because that's the way things are happening.
Beyond the Stage is produced by the Carpenter Performing Arts Center at Cal State Long Beach. Views expressed by guests of the show or the host are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of the university.